Hey now, Brawlers, it's time for another Board Game Brawl review with Nick Minahan, sponsored by BoardGameBliss.com. Hey now, today we're going to take a look at the game Monster My Neighbor from the company Dive Dice, which is from Korea. And actually, I don't know, I really like that name for a company, Dive Dice. I think it's really cool. Regardless of that, Monster My Neighbor is a deduction hidden role game, sort of in the style of games like Werewolf, but not quite. The theme of the game is that someone out at your table of friends there is a monster. And someone, or maybe multiple people, are hunters trying to find and catch that monster. And some people are maybe friends with the monster as well. But who is going to change constantly. You are not locked into a certain role. Rather, this is a hand management card game where hands are going to be changing hands quite a bit. Cards are going to be changing hands quite a bit. Let me go ahead and show you how the game is played. Then we're going to come back. I'll let you know what I think. Alright, let me give you a quick rundown of Monster My Neighbor. This is a competitive game for 3 to 8 players. The goal of the game is to have the most victory points by the end of 5 full rounds of play. Now, you're going to get victory points in a number of different ways depending on the cards that have been played during a round. It's a little bit confusing to explain up front, but I'll go ahead and tell you that if the monster was able to successfully play the monster card, then the monster and his friends gain 2 victory point chips. If the monster had to be discarded either by a hunter card or by something else, then whoever forced the monster to discard their card is going to gain 2 victory points. Everyone else, except for the monster and their friends, gain 1 victory point. And if the monster was forced to be discarded by a friend, everyone except the monster and friends gain 1 victory point because the friend accidentally betrayed the monster. So what the hell does all of that mean? Well, at the start of the game, you're going to have to do some deck construction. You have a general deck of cards that you're going to have to shuffle up, and you're only going to use a certain number of cards depending on the number of players. But a couple of things have to happen. First and foremost, you always have to have a monster card. Now, you're going to have a deck of 5 different monster cards that you are going to shuffle up, and you're going to add 1 to the deck during each round of play. Since there are 5 monsters and 5 rounds of play, that means that every monster is going to be used, but the order in which they're used is going to be random. So you'll shuffle them up, take 1 at random, put the rest off to the side without looking at them. And each one has a different special ability. So for instance, the Mandrake monster here says that you can play this card if 2 villager cards have been played. I know this doesn't make a ton of sense now, but just kind of keep that in mind. The Vampire monster takes an additional point, so 3 points if he wins. This monster, the Werewolf, says that you can play this card if 2 hunter cards are played. The Mermaid monster says that the first hunter card played has no effect on you. And the Gumiho monster says that number cards have no effect if this card is the last card in your hand. So you're always going to have a random monster, but you're also always going to have these 3 cards in the whatever the deck is. So you'll take those cards, then you're going to add them to the random amount of general cards, which may be more hides and hunters theoretically, but always just 1 monster. Also, always just 1 wanted card, which all this is, if whoever ends up with this in their starting hand of 4 random cards, just reveals it, and that will be the start of the rounds, and that's their first play. So whoever has that only technically has 3 other cards to play. Then you have the hunter card, and while you must always have 1 hunter card, due to the randomness of the game, there may be more hunter cards in the general deck. You just don't know, depending on the rounds. But what the hunter says is you choose another player, and if they have the monster card, they discard it. Then there's the hide card. Again, there's more than 1 hide card, but you must always have 1. And the hide card says hunter cards have no effect on you if you have this card in your hand. Now, amongst the other cards in the deck, I'm not going to show you every single one, but I'll show you a few of the other ones. You have cards like Rumor, where each player draws a card from the hand of the player on their right. Fog, which says that each player hands in 1 card face down, and then you shuffle them up and deal them out 1 card to each player, so you mix up a bunch of cards. Seal lets you draw a card from a player's hand and give him 1 card. Investigation lets you look at a player's hand. Villager has absolutely no effect. And the dog, you give this card to another player, and then he discards a card and adds the dog card to their hand. And then you have the friend of the monster. Choose another player. If he has a hunter card, he discards it and draws a card. And there's more than one friend card as well with different artwork. So, how the game is going to work, like I said, each player is going to get a random hand of 4 cards at the start of each round. And then on your turn, you play a card. That's it. You must play a card from your hand such that there are going to be 4 turns for each player in a round unless the round ends prematurely. But since you don't draw up during the course of the game, you'll never have more than 4 turns. The round is going to end when either a monster card is played, and if that player plays the monster card, of course, they're going to score points, or if that monster card is discarded by the effect of a hunter or the dog card. Now, there are some special rules about this. First and foremost, the monster can only be played in the player's last turn of the round. So, first off, I hope it was clear. Because of the effects of a lot of these different cards, these cards are going to be passing around constantly. So even if you get the monster in your opening hand or the hunter in your opening hand, that doesn't mean that you are that thing necessarily. That can certainly change by the end of the round. But regardless, whoever does have the monster on their final turn of the round, their 4th turn, they can play it and win. Now, do notice that some of the monsters had special abilities that affected that. Like one of the monsters said that as soon as 2 hunters have been played, the monster card can be played. That can kick off the rounds prematurely. Now, a hunter can also not be played on the first round. So you have to at least wait until the second round before you can start trying to eliminate people. But really, that's pretty much it. Essentially what's happening is you are passing cards around constantly, trying to put yourself into a position where you are either the monster and can win by yourself or with your friends, or a hunter or someone, or helping the hunter in order to at least get some points, or you're the friend of the monster and you want to try to figure out who the monster actually is and therefore unofficially team up with them. However the round ends, either in victory for the monster and their friends or victory in the hunter and their friends, people will get their victory points. Then you're going to do it all over again. You're going to reset the deck by making sure that those same 3 cards are in the deck. Get rid of the monster that you already used. Put in a new monster into the deck following the deck construction rules. Shuffle up, deal out again, do it all over again, trying to be the one who gains victory points by either having the monster, being the hunter, so on and so forth. That is a quick and dirty run through of Monster My Neighbor. Let's get to my final thoughts. I do like the art style of Monster My Neighbor quite a bit. Of course, I'm a sucker for what I would call anime-style artwork. I don't think that this is the greatest anime-style artwork that I've seen in a game, but I think it does the theme quite well. And speaking of the theme, it's very light, just like the gameplay is light. The idea that you are a monster, or perhaps you're a hunter and you're trying to find and kill the monster or catch the monster, whatever it might be. And because you have constantly shifting roles, it is hard to feel attached to the theme that much. It's hard to role play as your character. You can't really do that, as a matter of fact, at all. So the theme does feel a bit detached from the gameplay, but the idea of it is cute. The idea that you might befriend the monster and all of these different things. But it's not really supposed to be that rich and thematic a game. I think for that, you might actually want to go for a game like Werewolf, even if I don't like that game very much. But what this game does well, if we can switch to talking about the mechanisms, is that it is a light hand management game. And what I like is that while there are a lot of games out there like Werewolf and the Resistance where it's all about that social deduction, it's all about either you're meeting goals, right, as a group. You're finding and killing the werewolves, hopefully. Or you're finding and killing the villagers, hopefully, depending on what side you're on. Or in the Resistance, you're trying to pass or succeed missions, and it's like a race to see who gets to a certain amount of people killed or missions completed or whatever social deduction game it might be, whatever that goal happens to be for you and your team or characters. But in this game, much like with another game from Taiwan that I reviewed a couple of months ago, Animals Frightening Night, there's more of a game here because you're gaining points, and you're gaining points over a series of rounds. So it's not a team game. There will be one individual winner, and despite the fact that it does have that same kind of gameplay. Who is the monster? We have to figure out who that person is. But because you have these gamerly elements to them, it does force you to think more strategically than you might in other games of its type. It's not just about lying. There's only so much lying you can do in this game because at the end of it all, people can follow a bread trail of where cards have gone and who they've passed to. but it is using cards at the right time to put yourself in a beneficial position. It might seem, and it did seem to me the first time I played this game, like craziness. Just like, okay, I play this card and everyone throws a card in and we mix them all up and hand them all back. But what card do you throw in the center? And you might say like, oh, everyone passes a card to their left, or everyone, puts a card down and takes another card from the person to their right, or whatever it might be. You might think like, oh, that's just going to be crazy and confusing, and how do you keep track of all this? But you do keep track of all of it, and you can, and that is the game. And to me, that is super interesting. It's like a light deduction game with some of those hidden role elements, so there's always suspicion, and there's always like, okay, wait a minute, I've narrowed it down. It's got to be you or it's got to be you. One of you has got to have the monster. There's no other way around this. It's got to be one of you two. So what do I do now? I don't have a hunter. We have to, and then it's like now you're trying to make alliances with other players, because it's like the rest of us can all get points together. It becomes a team game for you at a certain point, because it's just like, I don't want to be the monster. And that makes some interesting dynamics between the other players. But again, this changes from round to round. So you may be on a team, you may not be on a team. You may want, the whole thing with the friend of the monster can also be really interesting. How much do I really believe that person is the monster? Because you want to be a friend of a monster when you have a reasonable expectation that no one's going to find out who the monster really is. You might be the friend of the monster, but then also have the monster card in your hand. And also, the whole idea of the monsters having different powers, but as you go through the different rounds of the game, the rounds, the rulebook does an annoying thing where it mixes up round with game, but the whole aspect that every round you're going to have a different monster with a different special ability, but you can by process of elimination, you can try and surmise which power might be in play. That's a whole interesting aspect of the game as well, because when it gets down to like 2 cards, you're like, wait a minute. If that person has the power where he can go out when a certain amount of hunters have been played, we're toast. That kind of thing can happen in the game. So let me just make it very clear. This game is super light. Okay, it's not super strategic, but there's such an interesting sort of deduction element to it, and it is so easy to get into, easy to learn, and fast to play that I really enjoyed it. And a lot of other people that I played with enjoyed it as well. It's not retiring any other, bigger, more grandiose social deduction game that I have, but I think it sits comfortably with them as a faster version of those games. Faster even than Animals Frightening Night, which I think has more meat to it and therefore is a better game for me. But this is still a solid game as well. Certainly very interesting, and I like the artwork too. That is Monster My Neighbor from Dive Dice. Check it out if ever you can. Thanks for watching. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Patreon. And make sure to check out our sponsor, Board Game Bliss, where you can find an amazing selection of games from around the world. BoardGameBliss.com. Thanks for your support.